Are you in a situationship? If you are, if you have, if you know what I'm talking about, I just listened to the Tortured Poet Society double album by Taylor Swift. It seems like that's what she was going through, and I want to talk about it. The Love You Miss You Bye podcast. Let's inspire each other. I have Taylor Swift to thank for my theme today. As you probably already know, Taylor released her double album, The Tortured Poet Society. I wanted to see what this album was all about, so I listened to a few of the songs, and although melodically there's not a lot of difference between the songs, lyrically, I think that's where Taylor Swift really shines. As usual, she's a great songwriter. I started thinking, what is it? What makes her so different than the artists that are out there right now? And it hit me. You know how you go and you watch like a true story, but it's got actors in it. You know, you're watching a true story and you get really connected to the characters in the story, which is based on truth. If the show isn't smart enough to show you these real life figures and people, when it's over, I am going to jump and do a deep dive into this person. I go and I look at pictures. I want to know timelines. I connect it. I'm like, okay, they were looking like this, so that means it was probably around here. And I just do that naturally. That's why I love true stories, because of that. Taylor Swift is the master of this, except she's doing it with her own life so that we can hear these lyrics and then jump to figure out who she's talking about. And that is her secret sauce. It's brilliant, because I even want to know, and I don't really care about Taylor Swift's love life, if I'm going to be honest, but now I'm invested. Now I'm like, okay, who was she writing about? What was she thinking when she was on the Eras tour? When did this happen? Yeah, I know. She sucks you in, but I'm all about figuring out what the secret sauce is. You know, I did a little bit of a deep dive on J-Lo, and it was because it really connected with me as far as her talking about her love life, because we all look at it and we're like, is she really healed? Well, it's the same thing with Taylor Swift. She's talking about her love life. And in this particular album, she has 3 characters. 1, Joe Alwyn. Okay, he's the long-term relationship. 2, Matt Healy. He is the situationship. And 3, everyone knows Mr. Football star himself, Travis Kelsey. So she's got 3 men that could be sprinkled all within this O. And then, of course, we have the villain, Kim Kardashian. I think what surprised everybody is the fact that they thought this album was going to be 100% Joe Alwyn. I mean, it would make sense. She was with him, I think, 6 years, I think. Like I said, I'm not completely invested so much that I know every part of it. So if I make a mistake, Swifties, I tried. But I'm basing my information from what I see on TikTok. So Joe Alwyn, everybody thought he was the main character. He's not. It's Matt Healy, the situationship. So Matt Healy, if you're connecting real verse lyrics in Taylor's song, was the emotional affair. Joe Alwyn was the relationship that she was slowly dying in. Therefore, Matt Healy gets majority of the songs. And that is where this theme was born. Why is it that the situationship gets more songs than the actual relationship? Think about it. Think about relationships that you've been in that were slowly dying. I mean, I have a few. And then you start talking to somebody while you're in that relationship, which is just a friendship in your own mind. It's just a friendship. And then all of a sudden, you start to go to this other person that's outside your relationship for attention, for affection. And that's where it starts to spin out of control, because now you've stopped going to the relationship that you used to go to, because that's the person that is causing the pain. And now you can no longer go to them. You know, in a perfect scenario, it's your friend, it's your best friend that you're going to, and you can start to talk. And that's why best friends always have a hatred for the man, the husband, the soon-to-be ex-husband, or the soon-to-be ex-boyfriend, because they know all the dirt. Well, now imagine if that's the opposite sex, and they start out as a friend, and then they become your confidant, and then they become the person that's actually breathing life into your lifeless body and your lifeless relationship. And that's what Matt Healy was for Taylor Swift. And I know that that's happened to me. I've definitely been in emotional relationships. I have. I think probably a lot of us have. For me, I've been in situationships. So that's what I want to talk about today. When I was listening about this Matt Healy situation, feel free to take a swig of coffee and Kahlua every time I say situationship. So I started to think about my last situationship. It definitely wasn't an emotional affair. I was done and over with my relationship of 10 years when I started talking to this person. Ironically, it did stem from Bumble. Maybe this is why I don't have those apps anymore, because of this significant situationship in my life. We'll call him military man. Okay. On Bumble, the woman has to swipe right, which means you like them. And then the man has 24 hours to swipe right on you. But they can't reach out unless you've reached out, which I kind of love about that app. I don't know if it still does it that way because it's been a couple years since I've been on it. But I really liked that because it gave you control. It's like sometimes you get swipe happy and you keep swiping to the right if somebody's hot, but you don't really read their bio. And then you read their bio and you're like, oh, hell no, absolutely not. And so it gives you an opportunity to kind of not reach out if they don't meet all of the qualifications that you're looking for in a relationship or in a man. And he swiped right on me and I reached out to him. He was absolutely adorable. So cute. Had all the qualifications of being a bad boy, but a good boy at the same time, because I mean, he's a military man, you know? He wasn't just a military man. He was special operations. That meant he was the elite of the elite, jumping from helicopters, just all of it, his uniform. It was borderline angelic in my mind. I was like, he's everything. Like, he's amazing. And this was the first person that I was like, he's got everything I'm looking for. A good job. He's tough. He's handsome. He's rugged. He's got a good body. Yeah, he had everything. I definitely reached out. I'm like, he fits all the qualifications. Yeah, I think he was 4 to 5 years younger than me. He immediately was like, let's talk. Like, I mean, I guess his military training, he wants to know if I'm a real person or not. So we ended up talking on the phone. We clicked. It was so good. Everything was just good. Our conversations were good. We talked daily. Then some red flags started to show up, which were, I'm definitely not looking for a relationship right now. Honesty is a good thing. Oh, yeah. Of course not. I'm not either. I just got out of a 10-year relationship. Of course, I'm not looking for a relationship either. And I wasn't. I mean, that was true. I absolutely wasn't looking for a relationship. It's like, if you put like the perfect human on paper, you're going to fall for that. The more you start talking to them, the more you start hearing about who they are. He had a son, and he was a single dad, and he just had all the elements and a little bit of danger because he would have to leave. Okay, this is where you go, but I didn't. This is where he'd have to leave and go in places that I couldn't know about, right? I couldn't know about it. So he had to go for periods of time where we didn't talk. But it's part of his job. So of course it's true. Don't think I didn't have a little bit of inner speak about it. Of course, I'm like, did my radar go off? Yes, it definitely went off. But I'm like, I'm not going to convict the man. He's got pictures. He's got medals. He's got all of it. Like, I don't know this at the time, but he's telling me it. So for whatever reason, he was working, he wasn't able to see me, and blah, 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 blah. Then, call me crazy. Okay, you can call me crazy. At my own brother's wedding, I ask him, I'm like, listen, there's a party going on the night before the wedding. Do you want to meet there for the first time? I mean, I know you have to go and you have to do your week or 2 weeks of military duty. Do you want to meet there on your way? And he said, yes. Talk about being nervous. I was freaking nervous. So he shows up, he meets everybody, and we hit it off. So we walked along the Buffalo Ranch and they were roaming. It was very romantic. It was, kissing and making out and that went on back and forth where we would meet up, see each other, go dark, meet up, see each other, go dark. And it was just like a cycle and pattern. But he said he didn't want a relationship. I accepted those terms until it became too much for me because I realized after months and months and months and months and months of this that it wasn't enough for me. It was good to get out there and start dating again, but it wasn't what I really needed at that time. I wanted a relationship, or at least I thought I wanted a relationship. There were other girls, and for whatever reason, he was probably using this. And yes, I did go to his house. Yes, he was not married. Yes, to all of that stuff. I slept over there. Like, I really enjoyed my time with him. I really did. The thing is, he wasn't really what I wanted in a boyfriend. He wasn't really someone I could see a future with. There were red flags there, but I was just like, no, 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 no. I could see a controlling side to him that would not work well with me. I'm not submissive in nature. I speak my mind. I do what I want, and I need somebody who's equal to that. And I don't want somebody that's subservient, but I want somebody that recognizes that I have my own free will. And I could see maybe he wouldn't be that person for me. So I knew in my own mind that this would not be a long-term thing. I could see that there were good times to be in a controlled situation, and then there were bad times to be in a controlled situation. I had to say goodbye, and I told him that. I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. And he respected it. He's a good guy. He respected it. So I walked away. And then some months later, I guess this was maybe a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, he reached out again. And of course, I'm like, oh my God, military man, how are you? All giddy again because he had that hold on me. And I went and saw him again, and we have not talked since because I knew after that time of going to his house and hanging out, there wasn't going to be any more. I knew that emotionally he could get to me too much. And then that's how a bad situation for a situationship can happen. I've been in a friend with benefits situation where it worked. I didn't have any real feelings about this person, and they didn't have any real feelings about me. And it just played its part. No regrets about that. I don't have any bad ill will. A friends with benefit situation has only worked well 1 or 2 times in my life. It's not really for me. Although now I look at my life and I'm in a much different mindset, and I don't know. I still don't think it would work for me. I don't want somebody right now that's going to be clingy or want everything right away, but I don't want somebody that doesn't want an emotional connection because I need that once I do venture out, and I'm getting closer. I keep telling you that. I know I'm getting closer. I actually almost downloaded Bumble today. And maybe when I get off of here, I might. A little selfishly, it could be good content. I believe that things come into your life at the right time. The universe answers your call, but you also have to be in the mindset to receive it. And I don't know that I fully am, which means I may not be capable of receiving it, and it may not happen. And I'm aware of that. What are some of the issues of a situationship? It's non-committal. And if you're both on the same page, it works. But if one of you is not on the same page, it doesn't. And the longer it goes on, the more likely one of you is to develop feelings. Okay, so say that you're the one that has the feelings. It gets in a cycle of, well, I want to see him, he's going to fall in love with me. He's going to love me. He is going to, how can he not fall in love with me? Intimacy for women is a lot more emotional than it can be for men. This doesn't speak to all men, and it doesn't speak to all women. I'm just speaking of the traditional role, which is really unlike me, actually, if you want me to be honest. I'm nothing about the traditional role. For me, I'm the emotional one. I need the emotional connection and intimacy more emotional. I know a lot of friends that do not get emotional about intimate relationships at all, like zero. And I'm like, damn it. One of my friends has said, Christi, you're lace and I'm leather. And that is like a perfect description of who we are when it comes to dating. I'm lace. I'm romantic. I believe in the fairy tale. I'm optimistic. Even though I've been through hell and back, I still have those feelings. My friend was very non-committal, non-emotional, and just was there for the fun. And that's good too. I mean, that works too. I wish I could kind of go back and forth between leather and lace. I'm not made that way. And that's why typically friends with benefits or situationships don't work for me. Get into these cycles. So, okay, so for example, it's like you realize you've started to develop feelings. So you go over there thinking that they're still going to fall in love with you. They have to, right? They have to. And why wouldn't they? You're amazing. I get it. But they don't. They don't form emotional ties to you at all because they told you. So they told you the truth. I don't want that. This is just what this is. So they're not thinking they're doing anything wrong. And they're not, because honesty is important. They're spelling it out for you. But you're still thinking, well, it's been 6 months now, and we have been seeing each other every weekend at 2 a.m. forever. It's not like you're going out on dates. And if you are, that's just going to add to the complication. It's almost easier if you don't go out on dates, if you don't want a emotional tie to each other. So you're thinking he's got to feel something, and he doesn't. And then you start to realize, you start to get sad and you start to get jealous. Where is he? What's he doing? Why isn't he thinking of me? He should be thinking of me. And then all of a sudden 2 o'clock comes and he texts you, come over. And you're like, see, I knew he was thinking of me. And then you go over there and this keeps happening for months. And then you're finally like, he's never going to love me. I'm going to give him an ultimatum. I'm going to let him know, like, it's me or it's them. Do you want this relationship with me? Because I can't do it anymore. And then he says, no. And then you're hurting and you're like, well, I thought this was going to be real. I thought you really did care because in the beginning, everything's wonderful. You're making that connection. You know, situationship is even more complicated. It's more complicated because he's showing you all the things that a boyfriend would do. He's giving you that added extra layer of emotion. And he's genuine in the moment, I believe, mostly genuine in the moment, but there's something that he just won't do. There's the line. Yeah, I love being with you. Yeah, you mean everything to me. I miss you. I want to see you. It's love bombing, right? It's love bombing. And then when it actually comes to the real commitment part, he becomes aloof. And you're like, wait, whoa. I thought we had something here. We never were in a relationship. What are you talking about? Then you seem crazy and it becomes gaslighting. And that's a whole cycle in that. Look what we can build. You see the future so clearly and they don't. And you can't make them. So then it becomes loss. But it's also living in a fantasy of what you thought was going to happen for all this time and it doesn't. Never getting what you want. What if you had lasagna in the fridge? Okay. You put it in the fridge yesterday, you cooked it, you get home, and somebody's eating your damn lasagna. Doesn't that piss you off? Because you've been thinking about lasagna all day in your head, and now it's gone. You have to get a piece of that lasagna. How are you going to get a piece of that lasagna? Well, either I have to make that lasagna again, or I have to go buy that lasagna. When you go buy that lasagna, it doesn't taste quite like what you made, what you had in your mind. It didn't meet the fantasy. And that's similar to what I'm talking about. It's like the fantasy is so real in your head because you know it can work. So you lost them because they haven't seen what you saw. And that's almost more tragic and more harmful than a long-term relationship because there at least you know what it is. You've seen it play out. You've been in the dream together and realized together it's not going to work. But in a situationship, you never quite get there and you're always longing to get there, which makes it much more tragic. That is why Taylor Swift's songs are majority about Matt Healy. She never got the fantasy. There was a ceiling. He was a bad boy. These damn bad boys, man. I'll tell you what, this was definitely a topic that I wanted to talk about. And because I know that most of us can identify with these feelings of not quite getting what you long for. It happens all the time. And then that turns into a fantasy. They seem perfect. but they're not. They're flawed. I'm rooting for you, kid. I am rooting for you. I want all the good things to be in your life. I want all of that. And I can tell you, for me, it is so rewarding to know I don't have any baggage. I'm not going to get into this next relationship that will eventually happen with these internal wounds and these internal scars. It's just not going to happen. They're going to get 100% of me. There's nobody I'm looking back at. I'm only looking forward. Sending you lots of love, positivity, and abundance. This is Love You, Miss You, Bye. I am Christi Chanelle, and I will see you next week. Have a good one. Love You, Miss You, Bye.
LUMUB podcast.
Love You, Miss You, Bye has been brought to you by Christi Chanelle, LLC. But if you're looking for more information or want to follow us on social media, go check out ChristiChanelle.com. All the podcasts are streamed there and the YouTube episodes are there. So why not? You can also listen where all podcasts are streamed. This includes Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And lastly, thank you to you, the one that's listening or watching. I appreciate you so much. Love you, miss you, bye.